Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, it's time for Charitable Georgia. Brought to you by Bees Charitable Pursuits and Resources. We put the fun in fundraising. For more information, go to beescharitablepursuits.com. That's BEES charitablepursuits.com. Now, here's your host, Brian Pruitt.
Good, fabulous Friday morning. It's another fabulous Friday with three more fabulous folks here in the studio. We're going to start off this morning with Kathy Lathem from Cobb Senior Services. So, Kathy, thanks for being here this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, Kathy is no stranger to the microphone. Kathy has a background in radio. So, you're passionate about seniors. We'll get to that in a second. But if you don't mind, share your story and how you got to where you're at.
Well, it's probably pretty prophetic. When I was 3, my next door neighbor had me by the hand at the back door, and my mom was in the kitchen, and he knocked on the door and he said, "Marge, would you please keep Chatty Cathy in the house? She's breaking my concentration." And he was an avid golfer. He insured himself with Lloyd's of London and went to Scotland every year to golf. So he was very into golf, and I was breaking his concentration. And who knew that all those years later, he, I guess, made that prophecy over me that I would go into radio. So it was kind of a natural thing for me. Really, I did not know what I wanted to be when I grew up, honestly. And my parents kept saying, you're going to college, you're going to college. And I'm like, what's the easiest thing that I can do? And I thought, oh, radio. I already know how to talk, and you don't really need a degree, but I'll go. So I did. And within 2 weeks before I graduated, I landed my first radio job right here in the metro Atlanta area. And I was in Christian radio for about 15 years before I made the switch to government. And that's another story.
Yeah. Which we'll get to in a second. I think it's kind of cool because you shared something the other day that I didn't realize, but you also, your voice is, well, I guess it could be infamous depending on how you look at it, but your voice is in the Cobb County Jail, right?
Yes. Several years ago, communications asked me to come and record the welcome orientation video for people who become guests of the Cobb County jail system.
So there you go, Stone. If you're ever there, you'll get to hear Kathy welcome you.
Well, right.
Yeah.
It'll be a warm welcome.
Yes. So I do like the way you talk about it. You are from the government, but you say you're here to help. So go ahead and share Cobb Senior Services, the purpose, what you do, and why you're passionate about it.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. So actually in 1972, there was this organization that started in Marietta known as the Marietta Services Board, Community Services. And they just started out by delivering meals to homebound seniors. And then when Cobb County government formed several years ago, they absorbed that organization, creating their own department, actually, of Cobb County Senior Services. So we have been proudly serving Cobb County for 50 years with everything from Meals on Wheels, the home-delivered meals, to now we have 7 senior centers throughout Cobb County, and we serve the 55-plus population with everything from exercise classes to seminars to dances to parties, just to, if somebody wants to shoot pool all day, we have that opportunity for them as well. Table tennis, just ways for people to stay engaged and have socialization. And it's very important now more than ever since we're out of COVID. You know, the seniors were the first ones that the government said, stay home, stay home, stay home, protect yourself. And so many of them did that, and we're still trying to get many back because some of them are still afraid of being out and not realizing that the senior centers are probably one of the safest places they can go because we do thorough cleaning on a very regular basis. So it's been great to see people coming back and being engaged, and even new people. We are growing our attendance at all the senior centers.
You said there's 7, correct? Can you share what parts of Cobb County they're in?
Absolutely. We have one in Ackworth, North Cobb Senior Center. Powder Springs is West Cobb. East Cobb is the Tim Lee Senior Center. Smyrna has Freeman Pool Senior Center, Austell, Marietta, and then actually North Cobb has 2 programs in one building. So 7 different opportunities for people. Oh, and the Senior Wellness Center. I forgot about that one in Marietta.
Awesome. So, obviously, if you're a senior, there's a lot to take part of, but business owners can help the senior services as well, right? They can come and do presentations and other things. Can you share how people can get involved?
Absolutely. We are always looking for the community to come alongside us by giving maybe an educational presentation. It could be something as simple as the spring is coming. How do I check my air conditioning? What do I need to do to get my house ready for spring and summer? Or as we head into winter, what do I need to do to winterize my vehicle? Just things that will help really anybody, but especially the seniors who probably need more information sooner rather than you and I, because you and I are going to scroll through, the websites and try and find information. Just like there is WebMD, which is kind of dangerous, I'm the type that goes and just finds car places, right? And tells me, and then I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because they're saying something completely different. But when you hear about it in a safe location, like a senior center from a professional, then it makes sense. Another way that the businesses can get involved is to help sponsor events. So when we do these anniversary parties and big events, we're always looking for somebody who wants to contribute maybe door prizes or to contribute toward the entertainment or maybe provide the cakes or something like that. So there's big and small ways that the community can come alongside us, get involved, and we welcome it all.
So you just talked about some events. You got a big one come up. You want to share about it?
Absolutely. This is my focus up until May 17th, which is the date of the Senior Services Expo and Marketplace. 2 years ago, we could not have it because of the pandemic. Last year, we brought it back. We had 92 vendors show up and almost 500 people come out and attend it. So we've been hearing the chatter early on this year. I'm at 100 vendors now, and people are already wondering who else is going to be there, what can I get? And we're really excited because we've got vendors we've not had before. I just got contacted by a coffee company that wants to come, and I have food vendors. I have hand sanitizers. I have skincare. There's travel, there's transportation. So we're very excited about all the vendors that are going to come out for this. And it's May 17th from 10 until 2 at the Cobb County Civic Center. Absolutely free admission, free parking. There will be some vendors that will have some items for sale, but you don't have to purchase anything if you don't want to. There's going to be a lot of great free information for people to take.
Awesome. So one of the things I think is kind of cool is, there's a lot of, at least when I was growing up and even now I think with millennials, there's a lot of, stigmas for seniors. I know my stepdaughter who's 22 and I'm 51 says, well, you're old, right? But how do the senior service, because you just mentioned a lot of stuff, playing pool, all kinds of stuff. How does that take the stigma away for seniors and being not considered, like rehab or nursing homes or?
Right. And for 18 years, I've been in this role, and it's been my personal journey to help get rid of that stereotype. Yes, we will always have the seniors who have more needs than others, the seniors who are truly infirmed and need help getting around. But we also have the seniors. I am 58 years old. I am right smack in what we serve at Senior Services. I don't feel like I fit the stereotype that comes to mind of a senior citizen. So we are here to help get rid of that stereotype, and by offering things like ping pong and billiards all day long. We have line dance. We have Tai Chi. We have day trips where we take them whitewater rafting. Okay, think about that. Whitewater rafting. So we don't really restrict anybody by their age. They restrict themselves by their ability. We meet people at their level of independence, their level of ability, and we meet them there and we work with whatever they want to offer.
I can't wait to get that age. That sounds a lot of fun, right?
It is fun.
Right? So, well, obviously, other than what you shared, why are you so passionate about this and passionate about seniors?
Well, it's interesting because my grandmother, I was very close. I was very close with her. I'm actually named after both my grandmothers, and Nanny and I just had a very special relationship. She moved down here for probably the last 10 years of her life. And then when she went back home to Chicago, had some mini strokes. So I went up and stayed with her for a couple of months. And of course, I was the designated driver to all the senior activities, right? So I got to go to the lunches and the dinners and, all the senior get-togethers. And I just fell in love with that group of people. And so it was kind of a natural progression, but I was still doing radio, and I started getting public service announcements about Cobb Senior Services. And I thought, well, who are they? So I brought them in for a show very much like this, and I was blown away by what was offered in Cobb County for the 55 plus population. And I made the comment, well, you're having way more fun than I am. And the girl looked at me, she says, I'm not going to have this job forever. Well, we kept in touch for about 3 years, and I would come back and do remote broadcasts and bring them in for updates. And she called me one day and she said, listen, I don't know if you're interested, but I've turned in my notice. So watch the website and apply for the job if you're interested. Well, then her boss, who was the director who had also interviewed, called me about 3 hours later and said, listen, I don't know if you're interested, but Gwen's turned in her notice and I would love for you to apply if you're interested, and I'd like to interview you. And so literally on a Friday, in January, I walked away from radio, and that Monday I started with Cobb County Senior Services. And yes, I am from the government, and I am here to help. I'm here to help people realize what is available, not only for the senior, but also for the adult children, because we're the ones that are helping mom and dad navigate this whole aging thing, right? It's new to all of us, and it's new to mom and dad, but we have to go through it with them. So we line up people, experts, especially like Medicare. I do not begin to understand it. I will never understand Medicare, but we know people who do understand that. That's their passion. And so for me, it's just a natural passion to help connect people with the products, the services, the programs that they need. And I just love seniors because they're real. There's no filter. They're going to tell you what they think. They're going to tell you what's going on in their life, and you better have time to sit down and talk with them and listen when you say, hey, how are you doing? And I get a kick out of that. I love doing that, and it all stems, I think, from my upbringing and just hanging around Nanny.
Well, you also, from your radio background, the natural chatty Kathy is there. She love it. But you and I do a lot of networking together. That's how we met. You do several different groups, not only in Cobb County, but outside of Cobb County as well. Can you share one story maybe that people, because I always talk about the power of networking. What's one story you can share about how positively networking has helped you?
Oh my goodness. There have been people that I've met, especially most recently, because I'm helping to destigmatize what a senior is, right? People think they're all in senior living houses and in assisted living, but so many of them are independent. For example, my mother lives down the street. She's 91, lives by herself, does yard work. The other day she said, I know you don't want me on the ladder, so will you do this? But she blows and goes. She drives. She does everything. So I am finding people that I network with want to reach people like my mother, people who live in their homes. There's one couple that are in real estate and home inspections. They've already done several seminars at the senior centers. Now, Maria will bring homemade ziti, and so they will make it a lunch and learn. And then David talks about the things you need to check out on your house and why periodically you need a home inspection. Even if you're not going to sell, you need to find out what's going on under the roof so that you can call in the people to make repairs. That has been very effective because they've hit almost all the senior centers, and the seniors have been very receptive of that, and the staff as well.
That's awesome. The other thing I'd like to ask is, why is it important for you to be involved in the community?
Oh, goodness. Without community, none of us could do anything, right? And yes, my passion is seniors, but I do have another passion. I do love children, and one of my dearest friends works for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And so I would volunteer for years. Every time she would have an event, I'm like, I'll be there. I'll be there. And so I got the nickname as the number one volunteer, because Pam would just say, would you? And I'm there. I'm there just because I love being out in the community. I love the mission of children's healthcare. So actually I am now on the Cobb Community Board. So I have a little bit more structure to my days and what I do for them. But being in the community is so important because I can't just keep asking for people to support me. It's important for me to come along and support people like you, to help Bees Charitable, to help people who need to find connections with maybe food pantries that don't fit into our programs. Maybe they're too young. It just does not work when we just constantly ask and are not giving. And I made that comment recently to one of my coworkers. I said, we are so great at asking, hey, will you support us? Will you come alongside? But we got to stop and think, how good are we at saying, what can I do for you? How can I come alongside you? So to me, it's just very important to be involved in the community, whatever it is, from children to seniors to the ages in between to, to animals, whatever, any way that somebody has something coming up, I'm there. Yes, I am chatty Kathy, but I'm a people person. And so I get my energy from being around others.
That's awesome. I wish you could preach a seminar on the networking aspect of it to people, because there's a lot of people still thinking about it's me.
Right.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you about your services, or if a business wants to get a hold of you, how they can help, how can they do that?
Absolutely. So we are very easy to find on the web. It is cobbseniors.org. Very simple, cobbseniors.org, or you can reach me directly at 770-528-5393.
Awesome, Kathy. Thank you for sharing your story. You mind sticking around hearing these next two stories?
Happy to. Thank you.
So this is your first time listening in Charitable Georgia. I didn't mention this at the top, but this is all about positive things happening in the community. You just heard a story about Kathy and her passion for seniors, children, everything in between. We're going to move over now to Mr. Jeff Stone from Clearpoint Associates. So, Jeff, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Jeff has also got a big heart. He is, I know, is working currently with a big nonprofit. He's supporting everything that I do monthly by just coming to the events, and he's got a great testimony. So this is a story about, I guess, just testimonies and stuff. But first, Jeff, you got a pretty cool background. You shared you played professional soccer, you played rugby, you boxed a little bit.
Yeah.
You worked for the LA Times, right? In LA. So just give a little bit of background.
Well, I was very small as a child. And I grew up all of a sudden out of nowhere. So in general, I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up in Southern California. I was one of the first things I did. And speaking of soccer, is I just happened to be in a very ethnic group, an ethnic area where I grew up. A lot of Armenian folks, and they played soccer. Everyone else I picked up baseballs and footballs and things of that nature, but I played soccer, and my mom just pushed that narrative and said, "Go play." I was a little bit husky, she said, so go play soccer. So I started playing when I'm 6, and that just elevated me into different, like everything in life, you find a path, you start doing things, and one thing leads to another. And I tried out a couple of times for different, like travel teams, and I made those teams. And eventually, as I got into my teens, I was asked to play on the U.S. national team. So I made that. And I traveled 6 different countries and played all over the world playing soccer. I played against Pele and a lot of different people when I was a teenager, And eventually when I got to be 17, 18 years old, one event happened. There's a couple events happened in that period of time. I was graduating high school. I was accepted as the as a alternate for the U.S. Olympic team. In 1980, we're going to Russia, and Jimmy Carter put an end to that, which is ironic that I live in Georgia, so to honor him, I guess. So we did that. My dad owned a company called One Stop Posters, and he was in Chicago on a business trip. And you may remember the Farrah Fawcett poster.
Oh yeah, I had one.
That was my dad's company. And he died in that airplane crash in Chicago in O'Hare Airport. And so that was graduating high school. Olympics were stopped. Was my path I was going down, and my dad passes away. And so that changed everything essentially. So I had a contract with Pony Sports came to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in us supporting you and representing you?" And I said, "Sure." So they said, and my mom had scholarships, but everything was out of California. And I felt really like I couldn't leave my mom because she just lost my dad. Then I move away. It would be really kind of unfair. And so I didn't do that. So I signed a contract with the LA Aztecs in Los Angeles, a whopping $33,000 a year and a used car. That was my bonus, compared to athletes of today, wasn't a lot of money, but I played for the joy of the sport, and I played that for a few years. And I ended up, and I tore my knee out 3 months into it. I tore my knee out. And so I lost also that was the sort of the trifecta. I lost my soccer career. So, once that happened, I was, in my early 20s, I took up rugby because I was sort of angry. And that was a great place to kind of release all that energy and stress and, break nose being broken, things like that.
Tear up the other knee.
Yeah. Tear the other knee up. Yeah. All kinds of crazy stuff. But, so I did that. And, as I did that, I just got, I was always liked to play sports and very competitive person. And I lived through my 20s kind of doing that, beating my body up and I'm paying for that now in my 60s. So that's my sports side of my life. And I moved out to Atlanta, in 1993. So I've been there for quite a while. As I did that, as I came to Atlanta, I got married, did all the things that I thought were going to work out for my life, and they just didn't work out. But in that process, I had some reflection. If you want me to talk about my walk with Christ.
Yes, please.
So I'll start off by saying this is that, I was raised in a Jewish household. So I became a Messianic Jew. So it didn't start off that way, right? So I was always, going through temple and synagogue and through my family. And that was and I always felt sort of hindered because I always asked about Christ. So Jesus Christ was the King of the Jews. And they would always say to me, well, that's fine, but we don't really believe in that. He was a rabbi, that's what the story I always heard. So as I looked at my life, looked back, like every birthday, I looked back at my life. Well, in the past, 10 years, I looked back at my life several times and say, what's really happening in my life? What's really positive? And am I living in an environment that really nurtures and promotes a healthy lifestyle and a really healthy person, and both spiritually, physically, financially, mentally, all those things, and bringing myself as a whole person? And I realized that living in a world we live in is very difficult to do that. And I said, why is that? Well, there's evil in this world. And so that evil, I said, has to be a counterpart. And I said, there's God over here. And then I went, okay, where does God sit in my life? And I said, he doesn't. Not in the right way. I was sort of passively with God. And then I started reading and looking at the Bible and reading the Bible, and had some friends influence me. And I accepted Christ in my life, about 6-7 years ago. And since I've done that, I've gotten baptized. I've been on a walk with Christ. And that has really changed my entire life. I mean, to the point where I did have a hiccup. I got divorced about a year ago. That was a difficult thing. But having God and having Christ in your life, I hand a lot of that off to him. And then I don't have to spend a lot of time in worry or fear and that kind of thing. So that's sort of the general nature of my path.
So it's also cool because you and I met just a few months ago, and you're just very giving and supportive because monthly I do a trivia event, rotating charities, and we'll talk to Dan who's part of that as well. But you've either come or supported that every month, just by us just talking a few times, and I just think it's awesome that you can get involved in the community and be supportive. So I'd like for you to share, first of all, you do a lot of networking now too. Yep. And you're some of the Clearpoint associates. Share a little bit about Clearpoint, what you do, and how you help others with that.
So Clearpoint Associates was really a business I started because I couldn't get a job. It was really, I aged out of the actual job market. You got a lot of great resume, Jeff, and I went, I figured out for 8 months I couldn't find a job. Nobody would hire me. So I said, this is just God telling me I need to start my own business, So I started my own business, and I thought, what am I going to really do here? What am I going to really impact? And how do I do this? I just didn't want to sell widgets or tchotchkes. I want to really just do something that has some impact on other people and helps people. So I did a lot of research. I found products that I really felt passionate about, and those products that I think help people directly. And I did that through I decided health was a big thing, because we fight health. I think, when you're seniors and people, we guys get older, more aches and pains and more things we deal with. So I thought health is one area. Another area is I came from a lending background. So I like to help people get money, but not money that puts them in a bad position, that puts them in a good position. So I chose products, and I basically broker those products and go out and consult with companies about how to really best facilitate their growth and also reduce their overhead by driving costs down on the health side of their business, especially small, medium-sized businesses. Usually people, my sweet spot of who I deal with are companies with 100 employees or less. And I try to help them look at what their overhead and costs are, and then, see there are alternatives to what they're currently spending money on.
Well, I know that you have a passion for nonprofits because you're currently working with one of the largest ones, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. But you've only been networking that I know of just a few months, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a story already you can share from that time period of networking?
Well, I mean, the one thing I will tell you, the biggest thing I've learned about networking is exactly what you said, which is not about I and me. I go in there really to learn about other people's businesses. And I really have learned, I'll give you a really good example. Sarah McCourtney, who does stem cell, they do a stem cell product. I sat with her the other day and I said, I think we can work with, cause really healthcare is reactive. Something has to happen before you go to a hospital or a doctor. I mean, some stuff is preventative, but most people deal with healthcare as a reactive component to their life. I broke my hand. I did something, injured myself. I feel sick. I mean, then I go to see somebody. So stem cell therapy, which I've done a lot of research on, was really interesting to me because that's a proactive look at how you keep your body healthy, keep your mind healthy. I'm actually wearing one of the patches right now on my neck. So, and I feel better. I got to tell you, I feel better from wearing these. And what it does systemically gives you, it helps your body as you get older, reproduce stem cells. So it helps strengthen your immune system, your metabolism, all these things that are truly, clearly going to give you better health as a human being. So when we do that, I'm working directly with her and I'm partnering with her because it didn't start off this way. And I sat down with one of my contractors that is one of my clients. And I said, what's the biggest problem you have when it comes to employees that are calling in sick and doing those other things? Is that a problem for your business? He said, yes, it is. It's a huge problem because he has only 10 employees. So one person leaving that day or two people leaving, especially strategic people that are in his back office or just people that are in the field that have that particular skill set that he needs, that costs him money. I said, what if we can keep them healthy ahead of time and you can help contribute to their health, and we can we can lower the cost of your health costs in two different ways, one proactively and one reactively. So we're already going out to companies right now together, Sarah and I, and I'm bringing her in for a small webinar for the employees.
I think it's really cool because it kind of reminds me of our friend Bob Brooks, preaches all the time collaboration over competition. And that's a great example of collaboration, even though there really was no competition, but it's awesome to hear the collaboration. So you just shared a little bit of why you started your business. But you can answer both of these in probably the same thing. Why are you passionate for what you're doing, and why is it important for you to be part of the community?
Well, the passion to doing it is really a mission. If we've all probably experienced some level of be disenchanted with health insurance. Health insurance unto itself is really anti-health insurance, really anti-health, because everything they did, if you look at what they do, is you can't have this procedure because the insurance company won't pay for it. Or you can't have this pharmaceutical drug because we won't cover that. And people need these things like, some of these pharmaceutical drugs and big pharma, $800 for a shot, $500, $1,000 for some pill you got to take, and for a child or for somebody, and it's expensive for families. One of the things I found when I'm working with FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, is they are dealing with they're paying $12 million a year to Blue Cross Blue Shield for 1,900 employees. $12 million a year. Every year from 2020 to 2023, they've got a $1 million increase in their cost of insurance. Now that's debilitating for them in some ways, but think about the average person that works for FCA makes $50,000 a year. Family of 4, family of 5, an individual is over $1,000 for the premium and $3,000 for the deductible. A family's $2,300 they charge plus $6,000 for deductible. And so it's financially inconceivable for a person making $50,000 a year to support their family, put food on the table, and pay the exorbitant costs of health insurance. And it gets worse and worse and worse all the way through Medicare. It's not only the fact that insurance is bad and not set up right for health. It's also things like Medicare and Medicaid are difficult for people like seniors to get the right kind of care from the right kind of doctor. So I found a program that we pull the insurance company out of the equation, and we put together the patient and the doctor like it's supposed to be. So the doctor actually speaks to the patient and doesn't have to worry about CPT codes or other elements of an insurance company, but the patient and the doctor get the benefits of the doctor gets a benefit of being paid directly by us for the patient. and we pay directly to them, and we negotiate a cash amount for that service. And so they don't have to wait 60, 90, 120, 180 days to get paid by Blue Cross Blue Shield. And they don't have to always have so many people chasing down bills. So that's one benefit. The other benefit is the insured person, we cover them up front for the cost of the services. So we pay it ahead of time. So all you got to do is go to the doctor, and the procedures they want get done. So the doctor prescribes something, that gets done. There's no insurance company that sits between the patient and the doctor. So, and then we have all kinds of it's a similar mirror of what an insurance company does, but we do it with a nonprofit, and every dollar goes into our fund. Only about 30 cents goes out for care claims per dollar. Whereas an insurance company charges you the premium, and then you don't get services until you pay off the deductible. So you really don't have insurance until you pay the deductible off, but you pay a very high premium to have that service. So my passion was, well, this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous thing. And then just recently, and then really what sparked this whole thing, Brian, was, and you may be aware, I may not be aware, but Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, Humana, they have, because of equity in our society, everything has to be equitable. They changed the gender reassignment surgery in all their literature from an elective surgery to medically necessary. So now they can literally go in and take your daughter or son that's 10, 12 years old heading into puberty. And if you have any reason to think that, and you send your child in to see a therapist, it's just a money-making proposition for the insurance companies, and they can give them hormone blockers, and they can actually lead them right into surgery. Our U.S. government right now, Joe Biden has actually put a bill out. They have a bill right now sitting in Congress that is forcing Christian hospitals to perform gender reassignment surgery. So when you get to this place where the irony is that a woman who needs maybe breast augmentation, it'd be elective surgery for her. So she'd have to come out of pocket for all this money to try to do this. But I could say I relate as a woman, and because of equity, I can get a breast implant. They'll pay one medically necessary. So this was for me, this was a driver. It became more than just going out and helping people save money. That's a great bonus. But really the big push for me is I don't want to see my children or my children's children or my friend's children or any child that's going through the difficulty of living maybe in a position where they feel different or something like that, and being forced into a system that they'll never get out of, and it'll ruin their lives, and they'll be somebody that's lost in their life, and life is too precious to be doing that. So those things are really drivers for me, and that's my passion to do what I do.
How about being part of the community? That's a lot, but there's got to be another reason too why you think it's important to be part of the community.
Well, I mean, you can't get things done without other people. It's a village. So you've got to bring people in. And I think about, giving more than you take, you always get more than you give. So I'm a big giver. I just think that giving, whether it's my time, my energy, my money, I believe in tithing. I believe in giving my church money. I believe in giving God praise. I believe in giving myself to, out there, because I think when you give, you build trust with the community. That's what I look to do in the community, is to build trust among my peers and among people that I don't even know. I read people all the time when I talk to people and try to build we build a better world one person at a time. I mean, it's nice to be in front of a group or be in a platform like this, but to me, discipling and ministering to people is a one-on-one opportunity where God puts you in front of people that need help, that need a voice, that need somebody to pick them up. And so I believe the community is a big part of what I do. And I love people. I really do love people. I mean, I hate being alone. I don't like the solitude thing. I'm single and I'm in solitude a lot, but I love being around people.
Yeah. It's once in a while it's okay to be in a room, but I get after you, I got to be around people all the time. So, I wanted to ask the Clearpoint Associates, you talk about the medical piece and the insurance. Is that available to individuals as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Individuals or businesses. I mean, I focus on businesses because I can touch more people that way, and I can really reduce. And that's another part of it, is that if I can save a business 60%. As an example, the $12 million that FCA is looking at spending this year, we've just proposed to them to do it for $5.5 million.
Wow. So
we saved them $6 million. I mean, went to the CEO and said, hey, what would you do with $6 million right now? Well, you can do a lot in the charitable space to $6 million. What would you do with $6 million, Brian? Would be pretty nice, right, to have for your charities. Yeah. And so, we just put more money in these companies' hands. And that to me strengthens our community and strengthens the financial stability of small businesses. And I think all that comes together as a way to benefit people and benefit everybody in the society.
All right. So if somebody's listening, whether it's an individual or a business owner or somebody's in charge of those for the business, share how they can get a hold of you to talk about that.
So you can reach me. I'm at a couple places. You can go to the website, which is for the healthcare side of it. It's called mightywellhealth.com. And that's a website we have. I'll tell you about the whole entire thing. It's not like insurance. It's fully transparent. You'll see rates, everything right on the website. So all of that's probably the best place to see this program. You can reach me via my email. Probably the best way to reach me is email, and that's jeff@clearpointassociates.com.
Awesome, Jeff. Well, thanks for coming and sharing your story. Mind listening to this next story?
No, it's fine.
So Dan Bruton, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So Jeff gave you a title earlier that I thought was pretty cool. What was that, Jeff? Quadrupreneur. So, because Dan does a lot. I mean, he's a broker with High Caliber Realty. He runs St. Angelo's. He's on a board for the Giving Garden. You coach your son's teams, and you're a husband, and you got to do all this other stuff. So,
there's a lot going on.
There is. So, do you sleep at all?
About 4 or 5 hours a night. Yeah,
all right. So, well, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming. Share a little bit, first of all, about High Caliber.
High Caliber. Been with them for about 4 years. Just recently became a broker with them. We're a little boutique broker out of Kennesaw, Georgia, and we just sell real estate. We're brokered in 7 states, all the way out to Alaska. Our broker actually ran the Iditarod in Alaska several years ago, so it's kind of a cool story. Only one in Georgia to finish. So.
Yeah, if you listened a couple weeks ago, Bill was on here, so it's awesome.
Yeah, he did great out there, and he still supports the program out there and goes out there for opening day races and stuff like that. And so we're pretty active. Yeah, we're not real flashy, and you don't see our billboards everywhere, but we just focus on helping individuals and selling real estate. So,
do you do both commercial and individual?
I do mostly residential. I do some small commercial, and I have an investment. I'm an investor as well. I have an investment in a small commercial piece of property as well. So, so a little bit of everything. We do land as well. So,
so I think most people know you who do know the community aspect of it. Know you more for St. Angelo's and Emerson at Lake Point. Share a little bit about St. Angelo's. First of all, you guys are the oldest bar in Emerson. It's a joke, but it's a tagline. It's real. But share about this story if you can about St. Angelo's, and then we'll talk a little more about what you and I are doing.
Okay. Well, I moved to Atlanta in 2006 with a big corporate chain, and then I switched to another corporate chain about 8-9 years after that. And then I said, well, you know what? I really want to get involved in small business. I love food. I love people. I'm like, got connected with this guy, Sean. Sean owns St. Angelo's. And he says, hey, I'm opening a spot in Emerson, Georgia. Would you like to run it? I said, okay, sounds like a great plan. So I left my corporate job in Midtown Atlanta and came up to Emerson, Georgia. Didn't know anything about Emerson, Georgia, town of about 1,600 people. And went from the big city of Atlanta to Emerson, Georgia. And I was like, okay, let's make this happen. So we did. So we've been there since 2016, little family-owned restaurant. We do a lot in the community. We support a lot of local high schools, kids, athletes. We do trivia with you. Brian, you've been a great part of that. And it's just, we're homemade food. And when you talk about being in service and if you want to be in service, work in a restaurant for a little while, and you'll learn all about service. So I love serving people, and I love food.
Well, you've seen the Lake Point grow. I mean, since you've been there, they've added the bowling alley. There's all kinds of stuff going on. But I do want to touch on what you guys do in the community with St. Angelo's because, like you said, you guys do a lot for the school. So a few years ago, Stephen Norton and I had a magazine called Northwest Georgia Rising Stars, and we were going out introducing this to the schools, the idea, the concept of it. And Dan partnered with us and provided lunch for the coaches for all the high schools in Bartow County. And it's just, just to do that in itself is an amazing, but I know you do stuff for the Red Door Food Pantry. You do other things. You and I are partnering right now doing a monthly trivia show, rotating charities in Bartow County. So I appreciate you opening up to do that. And it's been an amazing journey. I started the trivia there when I was working for Team Trivia, and I was your host there for many years. And kind of the idea of that together and merge the charity thing was a natural thing. But you also provide the lunches for the Learning Table for the Carsville Business Club. We do that once a month as well. So there's a lot that you provide for the community. So share a little bit, first of all, what people can expect when they come to either a trivia night or the Learning Table. What can they expect from the food? Because first of all, and Jeff knows you've come, if you walk away hungry, it is your fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that's true.
You're also not only known as the oldest bar, but you have the best wings in Bartow County. But share what people can expect from there.
So what you can expect is, it's just homemade food. We have everything's fresh. We make it on site. I think our freezer is about the size of your freezer at your house. We have like French fries and mozzarella sticks in it, and that's about it. Everything else we either make or we bring in fresh. And, it's just a little local mom and pop flair restaurant that we just focus on great food quality, great service. The staff's friendly, smiling. And in this market, it's hard to find, everybody's struggling for staff. So we've been very fortunate to have a lot of long-term staff and staff that just gets the message of, hey, we're here to serve people. We provide great food and a great atmosphere. It's a sports bar in Emerson's, Italian sports bar, if you will. Got plenty of TVs, all the games on. Just great energy in the restaurant. It's just a good feel there.
You've had plenty of people from the sports world that are considered celebrities come in there too, from my understanding. There's been Shaquille O'Neal's been in there, right?
I believe so, yeah.
I've also heard Derek Jeter was in there at one time.
He was.
So you've got some big names. And one of the things, can you share, I know one of the pizzas that's really popular is your cheeseburger pizza, but is that your most popular pizza?
We sell more cheese pizza and pepperoni pizza. People like the staples, just cheese. But we support a lot of birthday parties and stuff, and they for the kids and stuff, they just kind of go with that. But we have a pizza of the month every month that we special. We knock the price down quite a bit to kind of walk people through the menu on our pizzas. So every month we have a pizza of the month, and that goes over really well. Of course, you can create your own pizza. We have plenty of toppings. If you want to start with a cheese pizza and add just about anything that you want, we have it. We have a great gluten-free pizza for people that are a little bit more health conscious or have the gluten intolerance. I have a couple of people that just buy the crust and make it at home. So the product is very good. When the gluten products first came out, they were a little bit heavy, but now over time, technology and everything, they've really done a great job, and we landed on a great product that a lot of people love. And
I will say for that, my mother is gluten intolerant, and so that is her favorite place to go to gluten-free pizza, because that's, like you said, it's fresh and all that. You also are very willing and working with folks. We have a couple of people that come that are severely allergic to gluten to the events, and you allow them to get the gluten-free as part of the deal we're doing. So I also have to give him a credit because he's helping my sponsors for this event by letting us leave the banners and stuff up all year long, not just the night that we have the trivia. So they're getting the advertising along. So I thank you for that. So now let's talk about the Giving Garden.
Yes.
You are on the board for that.
I'm on the board. So in my passion for food and people, I was at this church down in Mableton, and there was a property next to the church. And we're like, this would be a great spot for a garden. So Judy and Jake and I were like, let's start a garden. So we started the garden. Started in 2016, and we're just turned into it's an amazing thing. We actually purchased the property a few years back, and we're just a nonprofit community garden. And since then we've started some educational programs and camps and stuff to educate people about food, and then. We have some farm animals there as well, so we do camps and talk about different animals, goats and donkeys and rabbits. We have about 35 chickens. So people can sign up for summer camps or programs and just come out to the garden and hang out. It's a great space, a green space just to come, hang out, sit outside, read a book, whatever you want to do, get away from the craziness of life and just hang out. And we also, once a quarter, we do different things. We just had an Easter egg hunt, free to the public. There's things you can purchase there as well. And you can support the garden by doing stuff like that too. We sell some of our plants. So if you're looking to start your own garden at home, you can purchase plants from the garden and support the garden, and then get your own garden at home. We'll do a pumpkin patch in the fall where you can buy pumpkins for Halloween and stuff like that. And we'll have a little trick or treat thing for the kids and stuff. So it's a great program. Green space, and it's educational, and we have a fridge where we provide produce and stuff that people can get for free, 24-hour access, and just like a garden fridge pantry type thing that we just give back to the community.
You said it's in Mableton. Can you share where in Mableton it's at?
It's on North Cooper Lake Road, 75 North Cooper Lake Road, down in Mableton. Yeah.
Other than coming and purchasing plants or pumpkins or things like that, how can other people help support the garden?
Well, we're nonprofit, which means, we need a lot of hands to make light work, right? So, if you have an organization that's looking to do a community project, there's some schools that have to do community projects and they partner with us. It's a great opportunity to partner with the garden and do a community service day for your school, or your business. If your business likes to get out in the community and do stuff, we certainly need hands for different things, and we have different projects. Sometimes we're building stuff, sometimes we're moving stuff, sometimes we're just weeding the garden or what have you. But there's always something going on there. Of course, we're nonprofit, so donations would help too. So you can donate as little as $5 a month, or a lump sum, or however that works for you. And sometimes we just need people to go pick up stuff. Hey, we need chicken feed for the chickens. Is anybody available? And we just need a volunteer to go pick that up. So there's many ways you can get involved and volunteer, and some of it's just, sweat equity. Some of it's time, and, a little money wouldn't hurt either.
Like I said, you do a lot. So Sherry, you said your passion is food and people, but why is that? Because everything we just talked about that you do, that it's an amazing thing, but why is that your passion?
I think it stems from my grandma. My grandma's Italian. She's from Naples, Italy. And she had this little kitchen. It's about the size of probably most people's bathrooms now. And she could cook for an army of people out of that little kitchen. And it was like homemade, Italian, just meatballs, spaghetti, pasta, fish, whatever you wanted. She could whip out of that kitchen. And I was amazed by it. So growing up with her, I ate a lot of pasta and a lot of food. And I just love food. So I love cooking at home. I love cooking. It's just something I like to do.
Well,
so
you can tell I love food, so it's not a problem for me either. So you do a lot of networking as well. We've all are part of some of the same circles and stuff. Can you share a story that's of networking that's been positive for you?
I think the most positive thing for me is just, going into networking. I don't go there necessarily for myself. I go there to see how I can help others. I think that's the best story. Because it does take a village. A lot of people say it takes a village to raise your kids, but it takes a village to raise the village as well. So I go in with the mindset of, I know what I'm doing and capable of doing. I'm seeing what I can use my talents and abilities or space at the restaurant for whatever I can do to help somebody else out. So, like Big Rich Comedy, he's looking to book stuff. I said, well, if you ever have a booking that you need a space for, reach out to me. I'll see if you can just use my space if it's available, just stuff like that, seeing how I can help other people in the community. And then from that, it's just, the collaboration with, I talk to other agents and networking, and we bounce ideas off each other in different scenarios. So you can learn as well and teach at the same time. So as I'm learning from another agent, I can teach them what I did in a similar situation or what have you. So, and then the third part is just connecting people, right? If somebody's looking for something and I know somebody that kind of does that or knows somebody that does that, and Brian, you're really good at that, just connecting people with people that can help them out. So whether I do it directly or just introduce them to somebody that can get them where they need to go is a big one for me on the networking side. Anything you can else different you can share about why it's important for being a part of the community? Being part of the community? Other than what you've already shared. Yeah, I think it's just important to get out in the community, and and I have kids. I like to know what's going on in the community, and the more I'm out in the community, the more I know, what's a good, positive, comfortable environment for my kids, my family, and sometimes there's areas that maybe are not so positive, and with that, not necessarily that I need to stay away from it, but how can I impact that to make that more positive for that specific area of the community? So, But I think it's just important to be out there and involved. I coach my son's baseball games. I'm very involved with Smyrna Little League. On that aspect, I got 3 kids in 3 different leagues there. So we're constantly at the baseball fields. We're doing football on Friday nights, so I'm helping coach that. So I got a lot going on, but it's all good stuff, all positive stuff. It's and stuff I really enjoy. When I wake up in the day, I'm saying, it's going to be a good day. I know it's busy, but it's good. It's all good stuff.
Well, I was going to ask, how do you manage all of the work life with family time? Because there is a lot going on. So how do you balance that?
Well, I'm fortunate in the sense that I can write my schedule for everything I do. So on the real estate side, I can schedule things when I need to schedule them. On the restaurant side, I schedule things. I mean, there's times I need to be there, but for the most part, I can write my schedule. If I need to work in the morning, I can work in the morning. If I need to work at night, I can work at night. It's challenging because there's a lot of moving parts, but fortunately I'm able to schedule, for the most part according to what I need to do and get things done.
How do people separate you? Because most people, especially up in the Bartow County area, don't, relate to the High Caliber part. They're mostly of the St. Angelo's part. How can you separate those two moving forward with some folks?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think I'm always going to kind of be tied to both, which is fine. I think people know me as the restaurant guy, and hopefully they'll know me as the real estate guy as well. So, yeah, but I think it'll be twofold for a while.
All right. Yeah. The other thing, we won't hold this against him. He's a Florida Gator fan. So
I actually went to school there, so
that makes a little sense.
It's not like some of these schools that have fans that people don't go there.
Right. All right. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you either for the real estate, for restaurant, because you guys do some catering as well, or birthday parties, wanting to get involved with the Giving Garden, how can somebody get a hold of you for any of that?
So for the restaurant, it's Dan at St. Angelo's. It's STANGELOS.com. Stangelos is how it sounds phonetically. And then for real estate, it's Dan at highcaliberrealty.com. For the Giving Garden, it's ourgivinggarden.org. It's a nonprofit down in Mapleton. Beautiful website. It's got all the information on there, camps, programs, pop-ups, all that kind of stuff. Spot to donate, spot to volunteer as well. So that's a great resource. And then if you just want to call me, my number is 770-876-7243. Cell phone.
Awesome. Dan, thanks for sharing your story. When we wrap this up, I always like to ask this question, wrapping the show up. I'd like for each of you to share either a word, a quote, some nugget to live today and beyond with, to leave somebody with some positivity. Kathy, I'll start with you.
Oh, put me on the spot. Why don't we pass it off to Jeff?
All
Let
right,
me think about
we'll come
that
back.
one.
So how about you, Jeff?
Well, I always, I think of, inspiring things. I like a lot of inspiring quotes, but the one that always sticks with me is only those who are willing to go too far never know how far one can go.
Mm. It makes you think too. That's good.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you have? We'll come back to Kathy.
I heard one the other day, so I'm going to steal it from this guy that we had in the networking group, along the lines of inspiring. And I hope I don't mess it up, but he said, I inspire to inspire before I expire.
Wow.
So he plans to inspire other people before he expires. So
that's good.
I thought that was pretty moving.
Yes.
New to the group, and he just came out with that. So I thought that's pretty good, pretty strong right there.
Can I give Kathy one more second?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Go ahead.
I would say for the idea that we're all networking and stuff like that, one thing I tell my kids this, and I think that's important for networking is, seek to be interested, not interesting.
Yes.
That's a good point.
And because I notice a lot of people in networking are trying to be interesting. Oh, I do this and I do that and I'm this and that. Well, no, be interested instead.
And I'll touch on that because we had a young man start coming, and we would go around the room and people would thank you for introductions or referrals and stuff like that. And it happened to be one day that I had given a lot of folks, some folks, introductions or whatever, and I was getting thanked quite a bit. And this young man, he was new to networking, emailed me like right after the meeting and said, "Hey, you can give everybody else referrals. Can you send me some?" And my email back to him was, "You can take this however you will, but you need to come in and establish relationships and learn more about them before you start selling a thing." He's never come back to a meeting since.
Wow.
So, all right, Kathy, what do you have?
Well, we do business with people we know, like, and trust.
Right.
And if you don't spend time with someone, you don't know them. You don't learn to trust them.
Right.
right? And you don't find out what they do. So I think we've all touched on it the same. You have to inspire others. You have to be interested, and you have to listen. Chatty Kathy, it's easy for me to engage, but I have to stop and really listen to people, not just hear, but listen. So that's very important, I think, for all of us to take on a daily basis. But then it goes back to Scripture for me. To whom much is given, much shall be required. There's not one person in this room who's not been given much. And we are required to take what has been given to us, be good stewards of it, and not keep it in our hands, but to pass it along, whether it's knowledge, whether it's tangible goods, whether it's finances, our time, whatever it is, we have to be willing to give.
Awesome. Yes. Well, again, Kathy, Jeff, Dan, thanks for coming. Everybody out there listening, let's remember, let's be positive, let's be charitable.